Hello and welcome, zombie fans. This is episode 102 of Reanimated, the podcast about all things zombie. My name is Stuart, and joining me is the inevitable H.A. Conrad. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. I'm sucking down some delicious iced coffee. It's
Great.
awesome.
Great. I am drinking hot coffee.
Yeah, I've switched over to iced for the season.
Wow, is it really that warm in New York already?
Well, it's been varying, so you know what? There's just a point where you just have to suck it up and just drink iced coffee, and that's what I'm doing.
That's very binary of you, but I can appreciate that.
Indeed.
Uh,
Part of
okay.
it's also though because my coffee shop is I love it, but you walk in and it's like hot like an oven in there, so pretty much no matter what it feels like outside, you always want iced coffee.
Gotcha.
So it's admittedly not necessarily weather related when I get it, but caffeine is caffeine.
And hopefully the coffee is delicious.
It is, as is the delicious croissant sandwich with
Ooh,
bacon, egg, and cheese.
yeah, okay. Yeah, it's shaping up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am, yeah, gonna kick this thing off. So Squarespace, thank you guys. They are the all-in-one platform to make it easy to create your own professional-looking website. And they our show notes are at Reanimated Podcast are hosted on Squarespace. You can take a look there to see what you can set up with literally 10 minutes worth of time. Is that inaccurate, HA?
Nope, totally accurate. And I think that one of the best things about it is that it's so you can customize it however you want it to look, make it suit your needs. And the Squarespace folks are awesome, give great support when you need it. Not that you really do. But yeah. And if you're a first time user, they've kindly given us an offer code, zombie, not case sensitive. Throw that in there and they'll give you 10% off if you're a first time user.
Not 5%, not
10%.
8%, 10
What?
whole percents.
Yeah.
So
10. Woo.
today we are talking about Re-Kill from 2015, US release in 2015. And we're going to be talking about the news. Got a couple of news tidbits to bring up. The first one of which I think is very questionable, but I'm going to defer to HA's throbbing Jon Snow crush.
Well, you know what? The season premiere of Game of Thrones is happening, and I just couldn't resist this little tidbit, even though it is truly link bait, just for all those people who love Jon Snow. And it's on the verge of all places.
It's actually got a very interesting tone to the
It,
article. But go
it
ahead,
does.
break it down for us.
It does. But the title of this article is Do You Think Zombie Jon Snow Will Be Hotter Than Night's Watch Jon Snow? And, you know, they go into sort of a recap of the different seasons. And it is somewhat humorous, so I kind of enjoyed that as well. Um, and for those of you who are not Game of Thrones fans, I don't know.
Too
I
bad.
guess this is just going to spoil the crap out of everything. But at the end of season 5, Jon Snow was killed off. And there's been all
Well, let's
this.
just say he was stabbed by 30 people. He might
Yes, he
not
was
have been
stabbed by
dead.
30. He was stabbed by 30 people. There's a blood pool beneath him. He's looking pretty dead.
He's looking pretty dead.
But you know, there's this whole theme with the books that Jon Snow. There's like a reanimated piece of it with different characters, and you know, Jon Snow, Kit Harington has been seen on set, so clearly he's coming back. But it's been this kind of silly mystery, in my opinion. Like they're trying to keep a cap on it. You can't keep a cap on Jon Snow, dude. Not happening.
He doesn't wear a lot of hats.
He
It's
really
true.
doesn't. He just wears a lot of furry capes. So there's all this conjecture about how he's coming back. Is he coming back as like one of the little frozen zombies of the north? Is he coming back as sort of the one of the Avenger type people, akin to his not mom, his stepmom, whatever she is, or
In
some
the
other?
books, because she's
Yeah.
been written out of the TV show, I'm pretty sure.
Although there has been some conjecture that they're going to do that with Sansa's character.
Oh,
Yeah. So
interesting.
we'll see what happens. We could have a zombie Sansa, zombie Jon Snow fight to the death. That could be interesting. Or
God,
fight to
I
the
would
undead.
so preferred if Sansa was a zombie.
Yeah, me too.
Fewer annoying lines of dialogue and more just face eating.
True. That could be amazing. So anyway, That's there, and it was just it was an entertaining little piece. I just couldn't resist. Sorry, Stuart. Thanks for bearing
No,
with
it's
me.
all good. It's all good. I appreciated that the writer wasn't 100% in the John or the Kit Harington camp, depending on his hair length and how much care he was taking of it.
I
And
know.
they were, I think I'm assuming the author was a lady, and she was definitely not into the Ygritte Jon Snow love affair,
Mm,
citing that they were that the wildling was too pretty to be for reals.
agreed. They were definitely not dirty enough.
Anyway, it was an interesting read, so we'll have that in the show notes. What else we have is a very strange looking video slash GIF of a man apparently riding a motorcycle or a moped while he's asleep,
Yep.
and apparently he only wakes up. He's like driving
He
down a street.
crashes.
He only wakes up when he hits the curb and a pedestrian.
Yeah. Pretty
Wow.
rough. But lastly is actually a valid little piece. So, Stuart, you watched the first episode of this particular show?
I did. Did I email you about it?
You emailed me about it. I have not had a chance to watch it, but I think that I will have to because, in addition to you, I think I got 10 different emails from people recommending that I see this. So I don't
Yeah.
know. You sent the email when you had watched like 10 minutes of it.
It might be some kind of well trodden ground for us at this point, but
It's an
for
outbreak
Atlanta,
film, though, right?
it's
Or
an
series.
outbreak show. Yeah,
Okay.
about us, a version of the flu, essentially.
Again in Atlanta. What's going on in
I
Atlanta, dude?
know. Poor Atlanta. Anyway, since you haven't seen it, I'll let you get to it. No,
All
we'll
right, I'll
watch it.
get to it. Maybe we'll review it if I think it's decent. But so far the reviews were generally positive. So you're now feeling a little more lukewarm though than you were before.
Yeah, by the time I got to the end of the episode, I was like, oh, okay, this is only so good. No, but there's an actress in this, the Australian woman from Pitch Black, who also then went on to do that really popular science fiction cult show that went on forever with
Uh,
puppets.
Continuum? No,
No, older. The one that
older.
had puppets in it. Like the ship was alive.
Oh yes. Far Side? No,
Far something. Farscape. Yeah, she was in
Farscape.
that. Claudia Black is her name, and
Claudia Black.
she plays some hard ass federal emergency person. Okay, so reviews. We, as I mentioned, are going to be talking about Re-Kill. It's came out in 2015 in the U.S., or it was released in 2015 in the U.S., and it started shooting in production in 2010,
Right, and
which
it was
is
finished in 2011. So I think you see it. I saw it in a couple places for different timing here. So
yeah, like on Roger Cross's one of the actors on his IMDb page, it says that he was in the 2012 film Re-Kill. For other actors, it says 2015 because that's when Lionsgate released it here. But I gotta think this movie would have been better off if it had come out in 2012.
yeah, I think so too. I think there's been such a glut of things like this in the market, and by things like this, I mean the shaky cam, you know,
Yeah,
sort of spliced in things. One of the things that they use a lot in this film, very similar to Starship Troopers, they have these sort of random advertisements that are
I,
throughout it,
my
and
favorite parts of this film are
I
the
think those were my favorite parts too. But I also think that they're overused a bit, and the pacing of the film is definitely. I don't know. I felt like they could have gone in a different direction, but I found myself enjoying the breaks for the advertising so much because I wasn't enjoying the other pieces, which I think says a lot about it.
so the premise of the film is that it's a TV show, which you don't
Yeah, but
isn't
like
something you
cops.
hear very
That's
much.
exactly what
It's
they were doing, like a cops parody,
Yeah,
basically.
it's basically cops, except that like the camera people can get killed and regularly do
Yep.
on this show called Re-Kill. It's I think to me that was a fresh approach, even though they're doing the first person shaky cam bullshit, which we actually had plenty of in the early 2000s after Cloverfield
True.
and what is it, Diary of the Dead, and these
Yep.
films that we've looked at. but this is a it still felt fresh to me, or at least interesting, and spliced with the ads, which were all which were mostly pretty awesome. Like repopulate the earth. They had a couple of those ones where it's just like two people having sex. Like they're basically just
Well,
advertising pornography.
they're advertising pornography, but it's sort of like, okay, in this new world, people don't look like that. And when you're watching, you're comparing that message and then watching the re-kill footage, or the team, whatever they are, going through and seeing how many people are dying, understanding that people are probably not going to really want to repopulate anything in this world. So, or they'll probably won't even make it to be able to do that. So that
We
was
don't
kind
really
of,
get an idea though of how safe everyday life is in this world because
we're only
on
seeing
Rekill.
we're only
In
seeing the
the bad
contained
parts.
areas, yeah, or the
You're only in the bad parts with the R division. So you don't, even though like they try to do some world building here, you don't actually get a good feel for it. So it could be much more like normal life because the first clip of Rekill, they're going through a part of New Orleans that had been where a breakout had happened, or an outbreak
right.
rather. And so it's that part of New Orleans is totally messed up, but it's also not like contained behind a wall like the
True.
Manhattan section of it. I don't know, it's weird. Like there seem to be zombies everywhere, but they talk about it like there isn't an outbreak right now, right? That's one of the plot points is that there was outbreak 1 that killed 10 billion people or whatever it was, or 4 billion people worldwide. And they're waiting for outbreak 2 to happen, and that's kind of the overarching storyline is we get to see how outbreak 2 occurs.
Yeah, we do, but they don't really tell the story extraordinarily well, in my opinion.
Other ads, like the one to just tell people, hey, just smoke,
You're gonna die anyway.
smoking isn't gonna kill you. And I don't remember what the other ones were about.
Well, there was the other one about like the contained community with
Oh yeah.
the guard turrets and the lookouts and the reinforced steel wall. So they're showing you a little bit of what the world is like, and so I don't know. I didn't really, and they do try to do some character building with this team of, soldiers that are basically made up of, not all of them have a military or police background. They make a big point of saying that. Very similar, they go with the whole trope of, oh, Sarge used to be a storekeeper at like Best Buy or whatever it was, and then one of
Right.
the one woman in the group had been a nurse. So they make a point that this is a team not necessarily made up of former military. It's everybody, and it's sort of everybody's in it to protect the rest of the world. But they don't really do. I mean, they give you little snippets of the characters, but it's so shallow and so, just kind of ridiculous. Especially the religious dude. I found him to be just insufferable. So
Yeah.
I don't know what your take on it was.
Going back to that first, yeah, I mean, his character was annoying a little bit, but I also just there were parts of this film I really, really liked.
All right,
Uh,
tell me what you liked, because I just did not. But go ahead.
I like the fact that they were doing a 5 years into the apocalypse and the world is still semi-functional. We're not talking Walking Dead here. We're in a very different vision of 5 years after a zombie apocalypse. Even what's the one on Sci-Fi? Zombie Nation.
Yep, Z
Yeah,
Nation.
their version of 5 years after the zombie apocalypse is this like insane trailer park redneck shit show.
Yeah.
This one is more like functional. They've got the bad commercials. It feels like kind of a precursor to Starship Troopers in that regard, like you said.
Well, I didn't read it that the world was functional. I read it that the world probably really wasn't functional, and this is all just propaganda to make it seem as if it was. So
To
that
me, that's a version of functionality. If you can
okay.
produce propaganda to that level, and you still got DVRs and stuff like that, because that's what the girls like watching her TV. She's got power.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. It seems like a more functional version of the world than Walking Dead. Let's put it that way. How,
All right.
to what degree, I don't know.
Yeah,
But the
because they do
first,
have because they actually have a network, I guess, and people supposedly are able to watch it. So I guess that's a fair point.
yeah, the Outbreak News Channel, ONC. The first scene of when they go through and clear Chevalier Square, something about a group of people, this R Division team that we first see. We don't really get to meet any of them except for a religious guy. The fact that they're like, even though they get their asses kicked, they're like, I just really enjoyed seeing people who appeared to have their shit together in the zombie apocalypse. Like they were all ready to rock, you know? It turns out that these zombies are way too smart, I guess, and that was kind of a turn off for me in the film. The fact
Yeah.
that we have at least two scenes of wheeled carriages or wheelchairs getting pushed into an open space, like
Yep.
to create this like, ooh, something just pushed that. That
Hmm.
happens in two different scenes in this film. I feel like
I know.
once is too many,
Yeah,
honestly.
agreed.
But I really enjoyed the SWAT team. I I guess the fact that they all get their asses kicked kind of undermines my point, but it seems like they're really good at what they do at first.
Yeah, I just didn't feel that way at all. Like I feel like they were giving that they were supposed to be giving you that feeling, except they just aren't really successful. Every time they go in, everybody gets taken out. Then let's talk about the headshots and their use of artillery.
Yeah,
I was thinking of you the entire time while I
the
was
fact that
watching this.
they have to yell RPG every time they fire an RPG is a little it makes
Yes.
me laugh.
Yes. And then, they know that they have to take a headshot, yet they continually just go all crazy, and are continually like hitting them in the body, which doesn't slow them down at all. Like it just seems like for a team that's supposed to be so like good at what they do, they don't seem to be very good at headshots.
The pace, their zombies are fast zombies.
Hmm.
I am a little more forgiving of what they're doing than I am in The Walking Dead, where they've got all the, like a lot more time on their hands to take their time and take the careful shots. I feel like these zombies are a little overpowered, I guess, is one of the bigger
Yeah.
critiques is, yeah, they're smart. They can they jump up on rooftops and jump down on people. They're crawling on the ceiling in one scene.
Yeah.
They're they're really a kind of a terrifying version of zombies. So I yeah, for all go for it. Just go all full auto and yell RPG all the time.
Okay.
The best version of that in this film is when, because it was shot in Bulgaria, I guess they have access to a lot of former Soviet Union weapons or like AKs. And there's one scene where the guy Grizzly has a PKM, which is like a large caliber machine gun, and he they're exploding, and it's fantastic. I love that scene. I'm totally forgiving of that. He's shooting from the hip, like just
Okay.
spraying bullets, and because of this is just that that's the vibe, it's like it's over the top. It's a bit crazy.
It's a little bit crazy. And then I just their whole thing about why this whole outbreak happened, just again, whatever, retreading same territory. Scientists are trying military experiments, get out of hand. You know, it's that whole trope, which I'm just like, okay, we've heard this before. I don't know. I guess because they're so over the top, we could have expected it to come that way. I just was hoping it would be something a little different. That's all. What were your thoughts on that? The Judas Project, as it were.
The Judas Project is a little disappointing, um, but I guess the plot isn't insane. Like we hear Sarge, played by Roger Cross, one of my favorite actors. At least I like him. He talks about how the end of the world is inevitable because humanity can't beat the zombies. The zombies are getting smarter, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
based on his logic, the Judas Project makes perfect sense. I don't know if I would have done it in the dark zone or whatever they call New York,
Mm-hmm.
because it seems really really dangerous there,
Yes, it
apparently.
does.
Yeah, and then the premise of, okay, we're gonna like genetically modify a zombie, and then he's gonna become the zombie king. Yeah, okay, not awesome, but
Yeah.
sure. But the premise that, okay, we're gonna genetically modify a zombie and have it fight the other zombies for us, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can get behind that as an insane plot point for an insane film. Yes, I can get behind that.
Okay.
Not super psyched about how Elvis turned out though. He literally looks like Frankenstein.
He does look like Frankenstein. Totally.
So, yeah,
Um,
not
I,
awesome.
and I will don't mean to like flip back and forth here. I one of the sort of breaks that they take and you look at the commercials, the segments where it was the survivors talking about there where they were when the whole thing happened. That was actually pretty funny.
I don't remember that. Can you
You
be
know,
more specific?
where the arborist, it's like, where were you when the first
Oh yeah,
outbreak happened? That was actually pretty well done because they play it pretty straight.
yeah.
And the actors are pretty. It's just a terrible little. They play the reality TV like part to the hilt, which I think is great.
Yeah. No, I feel like those are the best produced parts of this in a
Hmm.
way, because the whole Jimmy and Bobby, who are the
Yeah.
the camera crew, and I couldn't tell. I could have sworn it was also weird. Like they had multiple cameras for this reality show, and once eventually you see one of the other cameramen on screen, and it's Bobby, I guess. But I was like,
Yep.
oh, that must be Jimmy. And who's shooting this footage that we're looking at right now? And then later
Right.
on, they introduce the fact that that's Bobby.
Yep.
And then towards the end, when oh crap, Rose, I guess, gets
Yeah.
thrown out the window with
That was
Elvis.
very confusing to me.
She has a camera.
I guess, but I didn't realize it.
It's the first time we were aware that she's holding a camera, I guess, because Jimmy's inside. He's been killed,
Yeah.
and
I
Bobby
mean,
was killed way
long ago.
earlier and thrown off the catwalk. And the
Yep.
camera went with him because we saw him getting eaten on
Right.
the floor of the giant warehouse. So suddenly there's a third camera introduced. I feel
That
like
we didn't know about before.
I feel like they just had to do that, and they were just hoping that no one would notice
Yeah,
that
I got
they're.
that. Actually, when it happened, I'm like, oh, guys, really? Oh, okay.
But
Um,
maybe there's a
yeah.
perfectly reasonable explanation for that. But I was just like, hey, wait a second.
Yeah, I know. I said the same thing. I mean, it's good. It's good to some extent. I mean, it's not the most horrible thing I've ever watched. I have no need to watch it again. And I'm not sure that I would recommend it unless you're just really desperate for something like this. It sounds like you enjoyed it a lot more than I did.
Well, I can understand why you didn't like it, HA, because there are multiple versions of child zombies in it,
Yes, that is true as well.
and they even call them ankle biters. And
Yeah,
then
but the
Jimmy,
ankle biters didn't really bother me as much in this. This is how bad I kind of thought it was. Like, they weren't, to me, they weren't really all that scary.
yeah.
But
So the setup of the little girl walking around her house, and it's like torn to crap, and she's like, "Mommy, Daddy," and then she just settles down and watches TV. You didn't find that unsettling at all?
I didn't find it unsettling. I just found it kind of stupid because if she's living in this world, she knows damn well what a room like that's going to mean.
Maybe she was like
Right?
5 or 6.
Yeah, yeah, I got to educate them early. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, you need everybody to be fully on their game. You can't protect innocence in that way.
So what did you think of the cast?
I thought they were pretty good. I actually thought the acting was decent. It was, the script could have, the writing could have used some help, but for what it was, I thought it was fine. I thought the acting was pretty good. But there was a lot of yelling, a lot of Sarge, a lot of, whenever they had to take the mercy shot, basically. They took a while to do that with some people. I don't know. I thought that was fine. And better acting than you often see in these. Although this ad actually, I mean, for what it looked like, I mean, they had a decent budget. It was like 9.5 million.
That yeah, estimated. Yeah,
So that's not a shabby budget. Although I
certainly
would
not in Bulgaria.
no, I would agree with you though. I think a lot of effort went into the commercials and the spliced in production,
Yeah.
as opposed to some of the action scenes. But it was fine. But no, to me, nothing to write home about. I think part of it is that I just didn't really love any of the characters. I didn't really care when they died, and I feel like that is sort of a sign that something's not quite right.
Which is a sign that you don't like reality TV.
Perhaps that is a sign that I don't, and that's correct. That's a correct assessment.
Yeah. I like Roger Cross, who we have talked about before because he's in The Strain, plays Mr. Fitzwilliam.
Yep.
He's been in stuff like because I've been watching rewatching the X Files as I've mentioned.
Yeah.
He plays 3 different people in 4 different people in 4 different episodes of the X Files between 94 and
Yeah,
98.
they did that a lot with the X Files, though.
Yeah.
They had him. They often had sort of repeats. They would just bring people back, which I kind of liked. It was just like, oh look, he's back again in another weirdo role. It's great.
Yeah. He's done the rounds like Star Trek Star Trek Enterprise. He was on Jag, 4400, 24. He has been around and done it. Wait, I think he was also in Stargate SG-1. Yes, he was.
He was in Stargate.
And he's in the 100, which is another
Yes.
show that we enjoy. And he's got a lead role on Dark Matter, which has had one successful season. I think it's on Sci-Fi. Not much in the way of films, though, which is a little weird. I would think he would. The Re-Kill is kind of like a outlier. He does most of his work in TV. Scott Adkins, who actually gets billed above Roger Cross. A lot of people get billed above him, which I don't really get because to me he's like the face of this movie.
Yeah.
But Scott Adkins is a British actor slash stuntman. He's the one who plays.
He's in the Bourne. Is he in the Bourne Identity? I
He's
think
in one of the Bournes, yeah,
one of the Bournes.
because he's a very physical actor.
But if
And
you see him, I mean, it's you know who he is. He's been in just so many different
really,
things.
you
Yeah.
recognized him?
Oh yeah.
He plays the opposite to Grizzly. He goes out kind of like a punk and shoots his own people. And then Daniela Alonso has also been in Stargate Atlantis, and a bunch of Law and Order. And she plays Rose. And now she's also got a role in iZombie, which I have stopped watching, so I don't know who Alyssa Trammell is. But yeah, those three were interesting to watch. I kind of liked the Hernandez character too. The actor who played him did a good job. Billy or Jimmy, Jimmy's
Really.
voice and like you said, the writing for his like questions was substandard to me.
Yes, it was because it
And
was just
then
kind of like one of my favorites. Actually, not him. The first reporter that got eaten
the girl, yeah,
in New Orleans.
yeah.
When I was like, I laughed out loud because I was like, oh God, who's writing this? When they go to the car, and she's like, something's in the car. We're gonna see what's in the car. It's like, yeah, no shit. You know what I mean? Like it is such a ridiculous like statement of the obvious. And I think if you're going to do that with the reporting, you have to make that writing a little bit more interesting. Because you know, if the audience can tell there's something in the damn car, I don't know. Maybe it was because they wanted you to be happy that she gets bitten. I don't know.
I thought she sounded scared enough that it still made for like I was just imagining being in in her shoes, and it's a ridiculous job to have to do in any scenario. You're the one unarmed person in like deep in I guess zombie territory, and just doing this for film. It's an insane, like I guess premise wise, then it gets a little far fetched, but and she sounded totally terrified, and she didn't survive, and neither did Billy or Jimmy or.
Well, right. And I'll also point out that if Rose actually did have a camera somehow, why not just set up all the team with that kind of a camera and not put a reporter in there
Yeah, and that
with
I
the
guess
team?
is
Because
a
then
takeaway.
because they're also putting themselves at risk by having to protect this person. Not that they seem to care that much when they bite it, but it's still, you know. Although there is that one point where Sarge is like when they're going to get overrun, and the Sarge is like, "Oh yeah, no, we'll take care of the camera crew," because they do have a basically a code, which is that they're not going to let them become the reanimateds or the Re-Ans. So
Re-Ans, right.
Re-Ans.
That was one of the takeaways I had was essentially this kind of filming is an homage, or at least it pays respect to Aliens, which came out all the way back in what 81 or 82, where you've got your fire team or squad of space marines, whatever they're called, colonial marines, and they all have their helmet cams.
Yep,
And the reason that scenario worked and this one falls a little bit short for me, a lot short for you, is there are a lot of colonial marines in Aliens. There's more than you can remember all their names, and it's
that's
just
true.
they die really fast, and so
Hmm.
it doesn't really matter after a while. But because they actually only send 6 people and 2 cameramen into the dark zone, it feels that does remove suspension of disbelief for me. I'm just like, wow,
Right.
okay, they're only going to send 6 guys in there with guns. That's insane.
It's
Even if they
totally
do
insane.
have M16s with bottomless magazines and they can fire forever. The ones, the scene at the end when Sarge is holding them off at the door and you can just hear him shooting while the other
Hmm.
two are running away. He literally shoots for a minute
Yep.
on automatic, and he
Yep.
just, it's fantastic. And I wish I had that gun. It was filmed in Bulgaria. When the credits started rolling, I was like, "Holy crap! Where was this done?" Because it doesn't feel that way It's all set in the U.S.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like the U.S. either.
You think? Like what
Oh,
the
yeah, I think.
sets?
New Orleans does not look like New Orleans. It doesn't even have that feel.
Well, it's
New
at
York
night.
definitely does not look like New York at all, which is
It looks
probably
like
why
a
they have it so blurry and
yeah.
stupid looking.
Well, it's just in a factory, right? Or like underground or something. I mean, I feel like all the New York scenes were underground essentially.
Even underground, New York has a certain feel.
I see.
I am very excited because this week I am going to see Sigourney Weaver speak before a viewing of Aliens, and I am thinking it's going to be fun.
Wow, what's she doing that for?
It is an anniversary of types for Aliens. It's on Aliens Day.
Stay. I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Yep, 426.
LV
And
426, of course. At the Alamo
yes,
Draft House, then.
it's sponsored by them. So I scooped up some tickets, and I will report back. I know it is not zombie related, but it is very cool related.
Sorry.
So,
Yeah, it's totally acceptable because I love it.
yep. So I'm pretty freaking excited.
The
There
Town
we go.
Hall, a special screening of Aliens featuring Sigourney Weaver live in person. Mm-hmm. What you gonna talk about?
I don't know, but I don't care what she talks about. I think she's amazing.
1986 is when Aliens came out. Damn it, I thought it was like earlier than that.
So thanks everybody for listening. Let us know what you think of Rekill. Were you more in Stuart's camp? Or were you in my camp? Curious to hear what people have to say. Next time we'll be talking about a film with the wonderful Stephen Hattie, a little bit zombie, and we'll hopefully talk about Fear the Walking Dead at some point, but we're still kind of deciding on that. If you have anything to add, comment on, send us a comment. Reanimatedpodcast.com is our website, or you can send us a tweet at reanimatedpcast, or an email, which I'm going to make Stuart say because I always forget it.
Reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com.
All right, yeah, that's the Gmails. But until next time, ciao, and hope you have an awesome week.
Just remember to keep smoking and repopulating the earth.